Right, David, do you mind giving us a clap towards that camera, please?
Allez, two. Can you say two now?
I tried to learn Jordi. I know 2 words, Harit, Ganyem.
Didn't know anything about Newcastle United.
Who is this guy? How good is this guy?
I knew Keegan as a player, and I said, well, why not?
He may not have been the most expensive import this season, but here's another Frenchman that simply oozes star quality.
All I remember was this good-looking fella doing tricks on the pitch with the Newcastle shirt on.
He had this, 6'3", 6'4", Greek god of a wide man who had the touch of an angel.
What we'd got here, he was George Clooney. And I thought, I hope this guy can play as well as he looks.
Have you heard of the Fog on the Tyne, the song? The Fog on the Tyne's all mine, all mine. No?
Did you go swimming in the North Sea?
I did try. I didn't swim, and I said, well, this is not Saint-Tropez.
I think anyone would find Newcastle a bit different to Paris.
There's a buzz around the place, you just knew.
Everybody loved David.
I didn't come to Newcastle to entertain myself. I come to Newcastle to entertain people, and that's the difference.
There's a game in Paris against Bulgaria. A draw was enough to just make sure they qualify for the World Cup. We were winning and Bulgaria came back. And then it was just managing that 1-1 draw really and see the game out. David was more of a sub than a starter, and some people in France didn't really understand why he was not given more of a chance really. And when he came on for the last few minutes, I guess the instruction from Houllier was just like, keep the ball, it's enough 1-1 for us to qualify. So he gets the ball in the corner flag. He thinks that a cross is the best decision to do at that time. He crosses the ball. I don't remember any French player in that box. And then in 4 passes on the counter-attack, Bulgaria scored and win 2-1 and qualified with literally the last kick of the game. And from that point, you knew that there would be really one culprit and that there would be somebody taking all the blame. It was literally Houllier saying, it's David's fault, it's because of him that we lost. It was violent and brutal in the sense that we haven't seen, I think, a manager coming out after one game and blaming, namely, a player like that. He was on TV for the news, on radio, newspapers, L'Équipe, Le Parisien, France Football. Everybody was just talking about that. There was obviously the disappointment of them missing another World Cup. But then the story of Ginola and being the one responsible for it just took over.
Where did that mistake leave his standing amongst French football fans and the French media?
I mean, everybody followed Houlier's stance, really. He became this bad figure of French football when for many years he was the outstanding, elegant, beautiful, flair player. I mean, me as a PSG fan growing up, he was the king of the Parc des Princes. We used to go to the stadium just to watch him play. He was that good, that entertaining. And then suddenly, for the rest of France, he became a pariah.
In Paris, we had a very good run in the Champions League. At the end of the year 94-95, we ended up playing in the semi-final of the Champions League against AC Milan. The year before, I was player of the year in France, so it wasn't a question of I was still one of the main guys in France. It was just the envy of playing abroad. Testing my football in another league.
Did it always feel inevitable that he'd leave French football at that point?
David is so strong mentally. I felt responded so well on the pitch. And I think off the pitch was really, really hard for him and his family on the pitch. And that PSG season is a great season too. Even before the Bulgaria game, he was so good for the French top flight. And it was a very competitive top flight. Marseille and Bordeaux, Monaco, all those great teams. And PSG were outstanding at the time. George Weah and David were lighting it up front, but David was the spark of it. He was, every time he touched the ball, something happened.
I had 1.5 foot in Barcelona. I had a conversation with Johan Cruyff. Johan Cruyff said that was the priority of the club for that year. I made my mind to go from Paris to Barcelona. It was very complicated because there was already 6-7 foreigners at the club. At the time, he needed to get rid of two, Stoikov and Hadji. It didn't happen, so I received a phone call for mid-July saying, well, it's not going to be possible. Obviously, playing for Barcelona under Johan Cruyff would have been the dream. You always think, yeah, well, this is the way it goes. No, sometimes you go this way, and life, it takes you in different direction.
We all thought that Spain was the best league for him because of how technical the league was, and he would do so well in that. A lot of French players had gone to Italy at that time too, but he also saw it as tactically so tight and closed in a way that for him and for his game, all about flair, all about improvisation. Italy was maybe not the best destination. I remember Celtic trying in a very ambitious way and smart way to try to go, hey, you know, what about us? But once English clubs were in, I never felt really that it would go anywhere else than England.
Another day of extraordinary drama in the northeast. Newcastle United, in danger of dropping into Division 3 for the very first time, look for salvation once again to the man who saved them before. In comes Kevin Keegan.
The club's a massive club. It's got tremendous potential that's never really been fulfilled. I feel I can turn it round.
I'm a fan and I didn't know what to do. I'm a businessman. I stood on the terraces and shouted, sack the balls in my day. And here I was with a football club. Newcastle Breweries stepped in and helped us. They'd been sponsoring the club for years. And they've been bringing Kevin Keegan back to speak in the breweries and meetings, etc. And they said Kevin wanted to come back. And I was very surprised because he knew, even though he'd been out of the game, I don't know, for 5-6 years, he knew exactly which players he wanted to put on his team. We backed him.
Keegan, 8 years in Spain, playing golf, living out the country, never managed before, didn't know a thing that was happening up here. Absolute madness to make him manager. Wasn't madness, it was genius.
We deserve to be up there with the very best.
We came up from the Championship. Nobody expected us, especially the way we played, which was attack, attack, attack. Nobody expected us to do what we were going to do in the Championship in the Premier League. Kevin was always, we're going for Man United.
The only thing Keegan never did was signing an overlapping goalkeeper, because everybody else overlapped and charged forward. That's why the whole country loved Newcastle United.
We became everybody's second team, and I always remember the days that it was said that if you played a team and they scored 5 goals, you scored 6. Just a wonderful time.
Kevin was always talking about taking the club to the next level, and one of Kevin's strengths was always getting his signings right.
Bring the face a little forward. That's it. He was very passionate about Newcastle, where he wanted to take it, the vision he had for it, where he saw it going. And I was like, yeah, I want to be part of that.
Finishing 6th last season might be great for some clubs. It was a disaster for us not to be in Europe. And I'm now putting in place, I think, the players to make sure that doesn't happen next season.
I had this phone call from Terry McDermott, the assistant of Kevin Keegan, and he said, well, we want to sign you at Newcastle. Didn't know anything about Newcastle United.
I think people expected David maybe to join a club like United or Liverpool or Arsenal, which were the 3 main ones at the time, Chelsea a little bit. But Newcastle, for a lot of French people and even French football fans, it was a bit like, all right, really?
Who first identified David as was that Kevin's idea?
I learned one lesson at the beginning. Kevin wanted to sign Peter Beardsley, and I said, he's too old, but he insisted. And I learned the lesson then, basically, don't interfere. And from that moment on, I stayed out as the owner, and let him, the football side was his.
And I heard he was coming, and I was sort of, who is this guy? How good is this guy? But by now I knew that Keegan was absolutely top class. It was signing the right players for Newcastle United. And he told Ginola in particular, who had the chance to go to Barcelona, stick with us.
Within the club, there's a little sort of whisper going round that we were signing a Frenchman. Getting little bits. But what was really strange for me was I was confused because the lad who played in front of me was Scott Sellers. What a player. I know Kevin always wants to, you know, to push certain players and he doubles up with it. But I'm thinking, it seems a strange buy, this one.
We knew we were trying to sign a wide player, and John Solargo had come to the club after Newcastle had agreed a fee. Whether Kevin then moved on to David, I don't know, or whether he was trying to bring them both in together. But then David came through the door.
It was like taking a lift in a skyscraper in New York. You just zoom up to the top. And Newcastle were going like that. Once he met a player to sign for Newcastle, that player signed.
I knew Keegan as a player, and I said, well, why not? And I took the chance. I signed for Newcastle United, and it was like doing my first step into the Premier League.
He may not have been the most expensive import this season, but here's another Frenchman that simply oozes star quality.
Someone say in France that I'm a hero in France, but I say no, I'm not a hero, I'm just a man who play football.
What did Keegan say to you when you signed?
The approach was something I liked. He said, David, well, I bought you because you're good at this. Do what you do the best.
Didn't know anything about David before he came in. All I remember was just, you know, good-looking fella doing tricks in the middle of the pitch with the Newcastle shirt on.
The first day of pre-season when we got there,
This black Range Rover pulled in, and it like, you know, I'm thinking, they didn't bring me in a black Range Rover, you know, but anyhow, this 6 foot Adonis gets out.
he had this, 6'3", 6'4", Greek god of a wide man who had the touch of an angel.
And his hair's blowing in the wind. And I've got to be careful. I was like, what have we got here?
He looked like a film star. The long hair, the accent, everything about him. He was Mr. Cool.
I remember he's just immaculate. Everything about him just, you know, he smelt great as well.
He was George Clooney. And I thought, I hope this guy can play as well as he looks.
We go out training, and that was a problem for Scott Sellers. Because I remember Scott sort of like going to me after we just trained on one session. Scott's like, I'm in trouble here, aren't I?
You've seen this specimen and you're thinking, how can he be so nimble? How can he be so lightweight? Drop of a shoulder, the skill he's got, because his physique was phenomenal.
I remember talking to Terry McDermott just after he signed, and I said to Terry Mac, I said, what's he look like in training? He said, Gibbo, you won't believe it, he said. All the players were saying, this long-haired guy, he thinks he's, you know, when it gets muck and nettles, he's going to be hopeless. He said his touch, his vision, everything he did, he said, well, we're doubling up on him. And when I first saw him, I thought, how on earth have we got a talent as good as this?
We were joking with each other. I was like, has he got any negatives, this fella? Like, he really is he a robot that's just, you know, made to be like the perfect footballer?
There's a buzz around the place, you just knew.
I didn't come to Newcastle to entertain myself. I come to Newcastle to entertain people, and that's the difference.
Try to learn Jordi.
And how are you doing?
I know two words, Harit, Gagnem.
Was it a culture shock arriving in Newcastle?
It was for him, yeah.
I think anyone would find Newcastle a bit different to Paris, that's for sure, and that's coming from a born and bred Geordie who loves the place.
Have you heard of The Fog on the Tyne, the song? The Fog on the Tyne's all mine,
No.
all mine.
No.
Obviously, it was different, but you know, you don't expect to go to Newcastle and have exactly the same thing, that the most romantic city in the world. If I said to myself, listen, I left Paris to go to Newcastle and I'm gonna encounter the same kind of things around me, people would have said, no, David, this doesn't work like that.
People in Paris said to me, in Newcastle, rainy day, very cold. 4 weeks I'm here, very hot, always the sun. It's like Saint-Germain, it's the same.
Just like Saint-Germain, hey, wait till it gets to January.
Did you go swimming in the North Sea?
I did try. I didn't swim, I just put one foot. And I said, well, this is not Saint-Tropez. That was an experience, because I have a roast Sunday lunch. That was an experience too.
He was the first person I ever saw send pasta back. I didn't realise that pasta was cooked to a certain thing. He came from a different world, so to speak. But you know what? Mixed really well.
We took David out on his first day stroke night out in the city, and I remember him being in shock and awe after what that entailed that day and night, our social side. But then the next day, just training in pre-season, like nothing had happened, and he found that a little bit difficult.
The funniest thing he had, because he was at PSG, they had their own sort of like training ground. We were training at a university, but the problem with that is, if you've got a bloke coming to play badminton, he's coming in the same changing rooms as us. And I just remember Ginola sat there once in changing room, and he's like, these two blokes there, you know, getting the badminton kit, and he's going, who's this?
I said to myself, what the hell am I doing here?
I couldn't get that, you know, there's just normal people showering with us.
I find out that it was just facilities from the university. We were using the changing room, mixing with the students, were playing tennis or basketball.
I remember one day we'd done a particularly hard session. And I remember I came in, I was in the shower and I'm washing my hair, and someone gets in the shower and I was going, geez, that was a hard session, wasn't it? I mean, no, mate, I'm from a university. The facility wasn't kind of what he was probably used to.
That took him a little bit by surprise.
The importance is not what you've got in terms of facilities. The importance is the people you meet, the people with a heart like this, as big as that. The passion, the devotion of people is just amazing. Something you probably never find anywhere else.
Everybody loved David.
Ginola, Grizzly screaming for it back. Ginola has other ideas. Those kind of ideas. The French footballer with the film star appeal has fired in a fabulous goal. Ginola. Yeah! They're on their feet. David Ginola.
His first 6 months at Newcastle United was just breathtaking. He was just unbelievable.
Name me a better winger consistently than Ginola in his pomp in that first season at Newcastle. I mean, he was one of these guys where you could see the sharp intake of breath from the supporters.
My first 6 months, I couldn't have dreamt for anything better. You know, I give him a lot of props and praises, but I can't give him the props and praises without giving Keith Gillespie the other side. I'd say never try to hit me. Just put the ball in the area and I'll go and attack it. And that's what they did. Down the left side, down the right side. I could just make my runs off the fact that I knew the ball was coming in.
When you're playing behind him and you're just chuckling, you can just see fullbacks getting absolutely destroyed.
He was that good with the ball. The small deficiencies he had without it, we were prepared to do that little bit extra.
I wanted to strangle him at times, you know, because you just want him to just come back into an area and help out.
The message is sorry, boss, from John Beresford.
I did lose it that day. Kevin came to me and just said, look, I want you to play a little bit different today. He said, I'm going to have a word with David just to come back. Well, I started laughing. I said, come on. And he went, and this is where the gaffer will tell you, he went, do as you're told. That's it, done. David's on the halfway line looking beautiful, isn't he? Anyhow, they whip it in and they get a chance and it goes out for a goal kick. But as I'm now jogging out, I've turned to look at the bench and the gaffer comes to the technical area and he goes at me. Well, I've lost it.
Keegan has said it's not good enough for John Beresford. Robbie Elliott replaces it.
Didn't play for 4 weeks. Didn't speak to me for 4 weeks. And David got me for 4 weeks.
The first part of the season until February, we were invincible, unstoppable. We were entertainers, but we didn't win at the end.
They've heard the whispers. Newcastle will freeze again when the temperature dips. Well, this year they have other ideas.
I like the snow. You know, in Paris, sometimes it's the same.
We're very much on par to win something this year. We've tried to do it in style, and we shan't abandon that.
Cantona coming in, and he scored for Manchester United.
Collymore closing in! Kevin Keegan hangs his head. He's devastated.
It's 2-1. Newcastle can't believe it. Their championship
we're still fighting for this title, and he's got to go to Middlesbrough and get something. And I'll tell you, honestly, I will love it if we beat them. Love it.
So you have 12 points and you see the gap is, reducing like that, and you say, feel the pressure. We screw it up. we did.
Oh dear me, the agony of not winning the title that year, because we would have won it the ultimate way. The way Keegan wanted to win, swashbucklers.
12 points in the lead. There are just some little hesitations towards the end of the season, and we started to leak goals.
We didn't know how to park a bus. I know David would never ever get on public transport, would he? So he wouldn't know what that meant. We played this certain way.
What is left is frustration. You feel ashamed because we were so close and in a way so far.
He knew he was playing with a group of players that had high standards and we could be successful, and he could help us become successful. And a manager who loved him in Kevin Keegan, and fans who ended up adoring him. And I think he loved that. He loved that passion of the supporters of the city. He never got flustered by it, because obviously he was adored, and the adulation he got around the city when he wasn't playing as well. He handled that really well.
Beautiful football. I'm sitting here, and I always remember the goal he scored against that 5-0 win against Man United, when he cut in from the left and just hit it and bang. Beautiful player, beautiful player.
David, I felt if he'd have gone on and carried on playing in the same sort of like vein that he'd played at Newcastle, he would have been up there for European Player of the Year without a shadow of a doubt.
If we were the entertainers, and we were, he was really the epitome of the entertainer. He had a wonderful touch, wonderful vision, looked the part, played the part, and was totally what Newcastle United were all about.
When people ask us about the best players you've played with, he always comes into the conversation.
On his day, he is the best.
Sensational about him.
Newcastle gave me the love, the affection. Newcastle gave me something I would probably never have experienced in my life. The joy of playing at St. James Park was something really special. Scoring a goal at St. James Park and looking in the crowd and seeing so many kids, grandma, granddad, wearing the zebra shirt. You look around and you say, well, okay, I'm not English, I'm not Geordie, but I felt a little bit of their family, and they said, you will always be part of us.
Sky Mobile sponsors the transfer window on Sky Sports News.